Hi everybody, this is Jason Eagle with another your natural health practitioner, or your natural health expert, or natural health authority. This is another Healing Matters podcast, and today we are talking about eczema, skin condition, natural skin care from the inside out. A lot of people do topical and see the dermatologist or something like that, but it doesn't work, or if it works and it's a lot of chemicals, and there can be a lot of other blowback from that. And if they stop taking the medication, it comes right back. And it's not really getting to the heart of the problem of what's really going on. This is Jason Eagle, your natural health authority. My Facebook page, Strategic Healing. Make sure to like, subscribe. My YouTube channel, Jason Eagle QRA. You can find me there. I got a Patreon, all that other stuff. And so, eczema. There's a lot of different types of skin conditions in terms of people have heard of what's called eczema. People have heard of like psoriasis. People kind of go, I get rashes a lot, or I have red and inflamed skin. Some people, it's the acne, and they go, well, what is it? Which one is it? Eczema is generally a term for acute and chronic inflammatory. Acute means it's just happened and it's raging and it's hot and itchy and scratchy and flaky. And in chronic means it stays on, and maybe it kind of dies down for a little bit, but then it comes back, or it's always kind of there on a dull roar, or always there all the time. It's a condition of the skin often with redness, scaling, crusts, vessels, and weeping. Weeping, again, what's weeping? People will go, when you get like that crusty scab, that when you scratch it and then the crust comes off, and now, like, again, a good example of a weepy, crusty sore would be, like, say, poison ivy. When you get poison ivy, it gets red, and then it also kind of gets bubbled up, and then those bubbles burst and release this like clear-like fluid. And then that clear-like fluid then starts to dry and becomes crusty. Eczema is very much like that. And it's the same type of thing, which is your immune system, the cytokines are creating that. So when we get a poison like poison ivy or poison oak or sumac or something like that, your body's redness and swelling and this crusty, scaly type of stuff and the weeping, that's your immune system going after to attack it. So eczema is related to your skin is an outward expression of what's going on the inside. It's basically putting a poster up and saying, this is what's happening inside, okay? In Oriental medicine, skin conditions are often linked to a toxic colon, okay? Colon, because that's where we get the poop out, and that's the number, what we would think of as the largest eliminatory organ. Well, actually, your skin is your largest organ. The integumentary system, which is the skin, pound for pound, square inch for square inch, it's the largest organ in your body. And pore for pore, in terms of the amount of sweat and other oils that are waste products that come out of your body, it's actually the largest eliminatory organ. And it's a backup for the colon. When the colon can't get stuff out, when you can't poop enough stuff out, it will come out of your skin. A toxic liver and weak adrenals. I'll explain this. Also linked to a poor diet, especially eating refined and highly cooked food. Often intestinal infection may be present, parasitic, or in particular, one of the top ones is candida. People eat too much wheat, eat too much sugar, eat too much fried foods, which then, and again, also the bad oils, like for instance, the hydrogenated oils and the trans fats and the fried stuff and that junk, because there's cholesterol in your skin. And if we go back to a couple shows ago where I talked about vitamin D, and vitamin D, so the sun hits your skin and it activates the cholesterol that's in your skin cells. And in fact, every cell in your body has these cells that can activate with the sun to produce vitamin D, but it comes from the cholesterol, okay? So the skin has all of this stuff in it to do all of this protection. It protects you, but it also is a way to get stuff out of your body. It's also a way to absorb stuff and transform things and turn things into, like sunshine, into vitamin D, okay? Now let's go back to when the skin gets sick it is literally basically telling you that there's something going on in the guts, because if it's not going out of the guts, if it's not coming out of your colon fast enough, it will weep out of your skin. When there are no regular bowel eliminations, at least once a day, and in fact, I like to have people shoot for about 3 times a day, the intestines can absorb toxic waste matter into the systematic circulation, creating many types of skin problems as well as fatigue, kidney stress, and more. Hence the saying, death begins in the colon. When the skin problem occurs externally, it is usually only the surface of a deeper problem. Lifelong irregular bowel eliminations, meaning I only go every 3 days. There was a time in my life where it was normal for me to go once a week. There was even a time in my life where it's hard to believe, but I remember going like 2 to 3 weeks without and I was still eating every day. Where is this going? What's happening? It's building up and building up. And I've gone through this thing, again, being able to do colonics and all this other stuff to clean stuff out. Now, luckily, I didn't have a whole lot of skin conditions. But when I was a teenager, I did. I had a lot of bad acne. And again, it was because of my digestive tract changed, and I was eating. Now I was in high school, and I was able to buy my own food and eat more junk. My mom still fed me really well, but I was able to then supplement that with my own junky eating, and then put that on top of hormones, which is my hormones started kicking in. I was getting into, I was growing up and getting into puberty and everything like that. Well, my gallbladder, my liver was jammed up. And again, years later in my 20s and 30s, when I had to clean out, and I saved my gallbladder. So, but that was the problem, is that I had a toxic colon and toxic liver, and it was coming out of my skin. And, I was able to save it. I didn't have to have my gallbladder removed. I was able to rehab it and rebuild it. And then my skin definitely cleared up from that, okay? Lifelong irregular bowel eliminations may be linked to adrenal insufficiency. The adrenals, which is they sit right on top of your kidneys, and the adrenals are the thing when you say, oh, I get an adrenal rush, or when a loud noise goes off and your heart goes up and then bump, 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 bump. That's an adrenal. But adrenals are also there to protect you from blood rushing out of your head when you get up from a sitting position, or let's say you're squatting down and then you suddenly stand up. When people get dizzy, it's because they have weak adrenals. Why? Because the adrenals have to literally send a little bit of adrenaline into your system to make things constrict in your neck, the muscles constrict in the blood vessels, so that the blood doesn't flow out of your head until your heart can beat to kind of catch up with it, because your heart doesn't change. So when you stand up, it doesn't go bump, 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 bump. It shouldn't. Your heart should be beating the same. But if you go from a laying down position to standing up, what has to happen is your adrenals have to kick in order to literally send a little bit of adrenaline kick to keep the blood up in your head, and eventually then your heart will catch up. So a lot of times when people have adrenal problems, meaning a lot of stress and they don't fix their adrenals, then what will happen is the adrenals get weak. And when the adrenals get weak, then you don't hold enough fluid in your guts, in your colon. And in fact, then you get dehydrated. So oftentimes when people say they don't drink very much, you need to drink more water. Well, I'm just not thirsty. That's a sign of having an adrenal insufficiency. When you have weak adrenals, what will happen is you won't get thirsty, and then you won't drink as much. And then when you don't drink as much, you get dehydrated. Well, your organs, your whole body needs that water, and so what it will do is it will suck that water out of your poop. I know it sounds gross, and it is gross, and that's why people feel so sick, because their body, when you have adrenal insufficiency, as well as dehydration, not drinking enough water, then what will happen is literally their body will dehydrate their stool in order to get the water. And that's where people will say, I have hard pellets. I poop every 3 days and it comes out and is like hard pellets, like rabbit poop, some people will say, or even just like hard blocks. And then when you get into people, then you get that going on further, then people can get blockages. People can get hemorrhoids from these things because they're pushing and straining to get this hard brick out of them, when again, it should just kind of fall right out of you. that's a good sign that you have adrenal insufficiency. Now, when the poop sits in you too long, what has to happen is it's a toxin, it's a poison, and if it doesn't get out of there, then your body will send it into your liver because it's a toxin, so your body will send it into the liver to filter it out. But if the liver is always filtering out more than it should handle, eventually it too bogs down. And then what happens is then the next level is then it will go to your skin. But instead of just regular sweat coming out of your body, it's sweat plus other toxic poisons that is kind of like acid, and it burns your skin. So a lot of eczema conditions look like, that's why oftentimes they can first diagnose it as what's called topical dermatitis, meaning, it's like dishpan hands or something like that, or you're irritated by something. But that would be something topical. No, it's coming out of you. Instead of getting an acid burn from acid spilling on your hand, it's the acid that's oozing out of your body. So you are the poison to your own body. So when we get into, again, what is it? Again, it's a chronic inflammation type of thing, meaning it's always red and inflamed and all this other stuff. So that's when, we would like to treat it with anti-inflammatories, and I will get into what some of those anti-inflammatories, especially the natural one. But see, the anti-inflammatories too is just a, what do I want to call it? It's a secondary thing. It's not the main event. It's treating a symptom. It's not treating the cause. Okay, so wouldn't it be great to really get to the cause? What's causing all this problem? Okay, then we get into, again, where I'll talk about how food helps. I've talked about how food hurts. So eating lots of, again, the fried foods. So the foods that do help are eating more clean foods, especially the green foods, the green matter, chlorophyll. Chlorophyll cleans the blood. Chlorophyll cleans the colon. Again, eating more vegetables, eating less processed food. And when we have adrenals that are involved, we have to get salt, pink sea salt or just a Mediterranean sea salt, but regular sea salt in the diet will make it so that you absorb more fluid, and so you stay hydrated and don't become dehydrated, and then your adrenals don't have to be so stressed. And then you'll start to have more regular bowel eliminations. There's some other things that we can do. And again, the vegetable matter, more fiber, more good mucilaginous fiber like celery and cucumber and the greens and broccoli and cabbage and these things, sauerkraut, probiotics, that helps to heal that stuff. Even some of the green fruits and things like that. Apples are really good. The pectin that's in apples. Those are really good things to help to watermelon is really good. Melons are really good because they have lots of fluid in them, and they also are very soothing for the gut and help to rehydrate and repair what's going on in the gut. Okay. The other thing that I have found really good for treating people with eczema is DHA. Okay, that's an oil, so like a fish oil or olive oil or coconut oil. And I don't just mean topically rubbing it on the body. I mean ingesting it and taking it. You need an oil change. Now, that being said, when you have a person that has a jammed up gallbladder, the reason that their skin gets that way is because they can't digest fat. And if you cannot digest, then you cannot secrete your own Vaseline. And again, your body secretes oils into it in order to protect it, but also to soothe it. So your own good skin oils are anti-inflammatory. The number one anti-inflammatory is not these drugs or anything. The best anti-inflammatory in the world is oil, essential fatty acids of DHA, EPA, Deltanol, which is vitamin E, all of these good oils, what's called gamma linolenic acid, which is GLA, CLA, which is conjugated linoleic acid. You don't have to think about it. You will get it when you eat olive oil, when you eat fish fat, when you eat, let's say, lamb fat, when you eat the good animal fats, good grass-fed beef. You will get it when you eat good farm-raised eggs and the yolk. There's lots of good DHA and vitamin D in there. We can also take it as a supplement form, but it's also in food form. And in food form, these good oils are, again, they'll rebuild your skin and soothe your skin. Now, like I said, that being said, when you have people who say, okay, I'll do that olive oil thing, but if you cannot digest the fat, it's going to go right through you, let alone it's not going to seep into your skin. So for me, like the gallbladder condition, I had to go on the limonene. I also had to take lecithin. I also had to do what's called the gallbladder cleanse, and I had to loosen up the bile, and now my body is able to digest fat. But in the beginning phase, you often have to take something to digest the fat for you and eat the fat and eat lots of good fat, okay? And especially even the plant-based fats, coconut oil, olive oil, sesame oil, untoasted sesame oil, which is one of the best healing oils, which has lots of the conjugated lineolic acid, has a lot of the wax type of stuff, which is, again, a good skin also has a good sheen to it, but almost like a waxed apple. When you say a person looks like, oh, that pregnant lady is glowing, or a person's skin is glowing, and it's not that they went and had a spa treatment, like the dog. What makes the dog's coat shine is the oils. The oils gets into their skin, and then that comes out into the hair, and it will make the hair nice and healthy and the skin nice and healthy. Gut infection, again, that starts with the toxic colon. There's a lot of good anti-infectives. One of the things that I've also found that to be really helpful for especially some teenage cases with the eczema, and everybody even older too, is garlic. Alicidin is a garlic, and that will kill the bacterias, and it kills everything, but it also thins the blood, which means then the skin will get more oxygen and more healing things. Another of the really good anti-infectives is one of the main infections that's going on with most people in their gut, especially if they get bloating and stuff like that, is candida. It's the yeasts that feed on the sugar. And oil of oregano, or there's a company called Biotics that makes a pill called ADP. You bite them in half and then you swallow them with some water. That is an oil of oregano that will go into, it's a slow release, time release, and it will open up in the colon like a time bomb, and it will open up right where you want it to go, and it will start killing the infection that's creating other waste products inside your body, which is then weeping out into your skin. There's another one, which is called Propolis. Propolis is what bees make in order to seal their hive, and essentially, it's an antibiotic that will keep bugs from eating, or other animals from eating into the hive to get to the honey. They have to eat the propolis. And so the propolis it's a very good anti-infective, but it's also been really well known for good skin conditions. Now, there are some people that are allergic to propolis and can have some weird effects. So you have to kind of check with that and try a little bit and see, test a tiny little bit and see if you're okay. But it's very rare. Most people are not allergic to propolis. Then again, when we get into the guts, like I said, is a good fiber to make sure that things are being eliminated correctly. But then there's also good fibers like psyllium fiber. PRL makes a good one called Psyllium Blend, which is psyllium is the hulls of the psyllium plant, and it's indigestible fiber, meaning your body can't do anything with it, but what it does is it acts like a sponge and absorbs things it grabs onto toxins. And then it's a bulking agent, especially because people can also have a lot of loose stools. And when they have loose stools, that's not enough for your guts to grab onto. And so, again, your guts don't have good, proper elimination. So that's when we get into, let's say, a fiber, an insoluble fiber, that then is a bulking agent, but it absorbs toxins. And then there's some other things that are in this blend, which is like marshmallow root and turkey rhubarb. And these are slippery elm bark, it's slippery and it makes your gut slippery. And it repairs the internal walls so that things can slide out of you and don't accumulate and don't get stuck and don't get absorbed. Because again, with a toxic colon, you build up like layers of paint that's like tar, like black tar that's lining the inside of your guts. And even if you eat good food, it has to be absorbed through that layer. And so everything is just sucking on a layer of toxic poop. And so even the good green juice will get tainted and poisoned by that stuff. So that's why a good bowel cleanser type of thing, like the psyllium holes and stuff like that, it also kind of scrapes at your insides, but gently, and it loosens stuff up. So it's very common for people to be on the psyllium holes or the Psyllium Blend, what used to be called the cleanse blend, and it says it right on the bottle, is after a couple weeks, don't be surprised if you get these black, ropey, tarry stools come out of you that looks like a black plastic bag. Like, did I swallow a plastic bag? What the heck is that? It's the lining, like a tire, like you got a burning tire fire on the inside of you, and that has to slough off. And anytime people have eczema in the skin, I guarantee you that's what they have inside their body. Again, it starts from the inside out. The skin is the canary in the coal mine, but it's an old canary in there. It's telling you that something's been going on for a long, long time. By the time it turns into eczema, it's a long time. One of the other really good, again, when we get into adrenals, there's what's called the adrenal. Like I said, salt is really good. Having enough water, drinking plenty of water, increase your water intake. Then there's Adrenaline, which comes from Premier Research Labs. Really good herbal type of blend. And then there's another one called, from Standard Process, called Drenamin. And Drenamin actually even provides the animal glandulars, meaning it actually has some cow adrenals, pig adrenals, and people go, oh, that's gross. I don't. Okay, again, when you get into eating organ meats has always been known to literally repair those organs, repair those exact organs. You got a problem with the adrenals? Eat some adrenals. Now, these are processed in a way, and some of them are processed to release what's called the protomorphogens, which is not, it's the information to make a healthy adrenals that came from a healthy adrenal. But there's some other herbs and other stuff like that and other foods that are in it that help to repair the adrenals. But I recommend this for both of these things, oftentimes for people who have adrenal problems, because it's the quickest way to literally repair the adrenals. And what will you see happen? You'll see your skin clear up. You'll see your bowels get better. You'll see your joints get better, because oftentimes when people have eczema, they also have the achy joints, or even what comes next is after eczema is arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis, because those joints are dirty. The skin's dirty, and if you don't have a place to get it out, the colon's dirty, then the skin's dirty, and then eventually you just start to fill up, and then eventually the joints then fill up with this stuff. Again, the essential fatty acids of the DHA, the fish oil, combined with the limonene or some lecithin, just to make sure that you will emulsify it and absorb it really well. That's a great thing. For the anti-inflammatory condition, there's a whole bunch of things, but I like the oil one, that's the Deltanol. Deltanol is the part of the vitamin E. If you've known vitamin E, oftentimes you'll see it go to dog food or cat food. You'll see something that says vitamin E alpha tocopherol or gamma tocopherol. In the vitamin E, there's what's called the tocopherols and there's the tocotrienols. The tocopherols are actually pro-inflammatory, and that's what's put in as vitamin E for most people, and it actually makes the inflammation worse. Yes, it's vitamin D, but your body breaks it down and it turns it into an inflammatory waste product. So it's actually not very good, and it's cheap. That's why they do it. Now, the more expensive form is what's called the delta and the gamma tocotrienols. That's what the Deltanol is, and that one is a primary anti-inflammatory. It literally reduces inflammation, it feeds the body, and it's the oil that the skin needs, but it takes the heat out and it reduces the swelling. And again, it's even better than any of the over-the-counter NSAIDs, like for instance Tylenol or ibuprofen or any of these other ones. Those ones are toxic for your liver. Those ones are bad for your stomach. Many people complain that it ruins their stomach. Or again, you get into some of the other ones like the steroid ones. Those are NSAIDs, means it's a non-steroidal one. You can go to your doctor, and many times people are put on steroid creams or even internal steroids, but that will damage your liver, and eventually it will just rob Peter to pay Paul, and it will mess things up. Again, a quick adrenal cleanup. Plants are toxic to humans. Skin issues, try to constrict it 2 months before. Okay. So that's the other thing that, again, people have also found too is a, again, higher good fat diet, high good proteins, again, eliminating the high carbohydrate plants. So again, a plant-based thing is good, but you're focusing on the low carbohydrate ones. So not the potatoes, not so much of the carrots, not so much of the ones that have high sugar, but focus on the ones that are very cleansing, and especially the green ones. Again, go back to the adrenal cleanup. Yes, the adrenal cleanup, which I said is some of the supplements, which is Adrenoven, the Drenamin, one's from Premier Research Labs, one's from Standard Process. Increase the salt, okay? Good, so an average adult that weighs about 120 plus pounds should be taking about a full teaspoon. And some people say, it seems like a lot. Don't take it all at once unless you want to have a colon blast. Again, this is a good way to actually, in the morning, many times go, I want to have a good bowel movement. So what you do is put a whole teaspoon of water into a 12-ounce glass, 12 to 16-ounce glass of water. Doesn't have to be cold, doesn't have to be warm, about lukewarm, and drink it down in one sitting. And within 20 minutes to an hour, if you're not blocked up, boom, you will have an evacuation, kind of like magnesium does, and it will clean the colon out and flush you. But most people is you just spread that teaspoon out throughout the whole day, okay? And that's really the best way to clean the adrenals out and to revive the adrenals. And again, the adrenals too are related to the stress, and so people also need to get into some, rather than a supplement and eating, whether it be meditation, whether it be deep breathing, yoga type breathing, deep belly breathing. Learn how to chill out, honey bunny. Learn how to relax. Learn how to have the time that you are out there, and then there's the time to turn it off. And again, many times people don't know how to do that, but they have to be faced to do that, which is, and again, if you really want to go after something, you're going to come at it from all angles. You're going to come at it from the foods. You're going to come at it from the behaviors and therapies. You're going to come at it from even the mental and psychological aspect. Again, weak adrenals show that you've been in panic mode for a long time, and the adrenals are just doing what you told them to do, which is like, go, go, go. So the adrenals are kind of like the horse being whipped. And eventually you're going to whip that horse to death, and it just doesn't have any more. So the adrenals have to be respected as well too. And then let's go a couple things that I've also found too, that the actual eczema can have the same connection, but also it can be eczema, but it's, okay, ringworm. Ringworm is a candida infection that's inside the gut. Ringworm is not necessarily a worm as much as it's a fungus. So a lot of times we can have the topical things, like for instance, the skin condition, if we put something topical on it, that kills that infection. And one of the things that I found really good is what's called Blue Star ointment. Blue Star ointment, you can get this stuff anywhere. It's the old-timey, has a Bengay type of smell to it. And it does treat ringworm. But it also, I've had it many cases where people put it on an eczema spot and it makes it go away. It cures it. Why? It heals it because what it's doing is it's killing the infection. A lot of the stuff that's in the Blue Star ointment is camphor, that's like one of the pine trees that's out there, and it makes it that kind of smelly type of stuff. But camphor is also will kill yeast, okay? And again, it's a yeast internal yeast infection, but then it also becomes an external yeast infection, fungus. Same things like toenail fungus. So the Blue Star ointment, now test a patch and put it on there. Don't touch your eyes. Make sure it doesn't get close to a mucosal membrane, like for instance, the genitals or something like that. It will burn. Be very careful about that. Make sure you wash your hands after you put it on. But you can even put it on and then tape some gauze over that to protect it. And many times I've had many cases of where people, not only did we treat it internally, but that's topical treatment, which is like, I've been fighting this for years and I've been on prednisone and this and stuff. And like within a week, it went away. It got better. Hey, Rob, it got better. It's amazing. Now, that's not everybody, because many of the eczema cases is it's not an actual topical infection like a fungus. But again, it's a blending, and so there's many cases where it is, and you don't know until you try. And if the Blue Star ointment doesn't work, it's not going to do anything. Stop doing it, and you'll know within a couple days if it's going to work. If it doesn't do anything, and if it flares it up even worse, then stop it. But there are, like I said, there are many cases where, and it's not going to harm you. It's one of the things where it's like, you can go get that at CVS, and it's still this old one. It's an old company, and they did not change. They still use natural stuff. They still use the old processes. It's still the old-timey way, and it can really, really work. And then, so we went through what is it, how food helps, and again, cleaner eating really helps it, getting in the good essential fatty acids. The supplements, I've gone over that. And then again, too, there's another thing that can really help this, which is fasting. Sometimes fasting, and whether it be a juice fast or a water fast, I've seen that clean people's skin out. Again, and then I've also seen sunshine. I've had so many people where it gets better in the summertime and then it gets worse in the wintertime. And they go, well, what is it? It's the vitamin D. Vitamin D is an anti-inflammatory, and sunshine itself is an anti-inflammatory. And I've seen so many conditions. There's many people who have moved out to Arizona and gotten sunshine and stuff like that. And their psoriasis, especially like the bad plaque psoriasis stuff that's just like, oh, it's torture. It's horrible for people. I've seen the sun fix that. It's free out there. And again, people go, well, doesn't the sun give you damage? If you got eczema, go out there and leave your skin uncovered for at least a good 20 minutes. And then if you want to go back inside or put your shirt on or put your sunscreen on after that, then so be it. But again, that's one of the things it's out there, and it's natural, nothing more natural than that. And our skin desperately needs the energy from the sun to produce the vitamin D, but also the sun will kill these infections, and the sun absorbs deep into every cell of your body and gives you more energy. And so if your immune system is unable to fight the eczema and get on top of it, many times sunshine and grounding, bare feet on the ground, is just the ticket, because not only does the sunshine heal it, but also it gives you more energy. And the grounding, bare feet on the grass, where the grass puts more energy and pulls static charges out of your body, which then relieves the blockages in your nervous system so that your immune system cannot be haywire and can literally go, okay, I've been refueled and fed, and now we can go back to it. And it can fight it without creating too many problems. So, again, because eczema is almost also a runaway immune system, it can be considered almost kind of like an autoimmune, but it's because we don't have enough energy. So when the immune system doesn't have enough energy, it just doubles down on overdoing it. Instead of getting weak and just stopping it, it does it more, but it does it out of control. So giving the body more cellular energy, more cellular metabolism, gives it more strength to do the job it was supposed to do and do it correctly, and then clean up the problem so that it goes back to normal. So I've seen so many cases of eczema go back to completely normal. I've had this guy, it's one of my famous pictures, which is like he had eczema on the back of his hands for 20 years. And after being on I think it was 20 DHA, 20 of the oil capsules, and this one was the plant-based one. And that seems like a lot, but he was on 20 a day. 2 weeks later, he came back and you should see his hands. It was a before and after picture. And he's like, oh my God, I wasn't like this ever since I was 20 years old. It's amazing. And it stayed like that forever. But it was high dose of DHA. And then eventually, after about a couple months of doing that, he was able to back down. But he was so deficient in it. Yes, and the salt flush can pull the yeast and the candida out. The salt flush, like the one that I talked about, which is, I'm responding to some people that are doing live chat right now. Yes, the salt can actually get you to release more toxins, and like a dirty sponge, and your skin is like a sponge, can get this out of your system. Okay. And again, the skin and eczema is a early warning sign that you're dirty on the inside and you're toxic and you are literally secreting your own burning acid. It's not coming from the outside, it's coming from the inside. But also the cure comes from the inside. Okay, till next time, thanks a lot. Bye-bye, everybody.